Bienvenidos, soy la bruja desfinada, and I am here with a very special summer solstice message. So let's get started. I haven't done one of these in a bit because, we're starting off fresh. Life's been crazy. Interestingly enough, we had a very similar card come out. We had the Seven of Cups in reverse. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Nine of Wands, the High Priestess in reverse, the Five of Cups, the Six of Swords, Judgment, the Knight of Swords in reverse, the Hierophant in reverse, the Queen of Coins in reverse, the Knight of Wands. Oh my, okay, not necessarily anything bad. Let's just get through this. The Page of Cups in reverse, we have the Emperor, we have the Fool, we have Death. Okay. Death in reverse, the Four of Swords, the Ten of Wands, the Four of Coins in reverse. I'm going to stop there and see how we proceed. So, summer solstice. It actually was yesterday, but I was traveling and didn't get home till late. So, here we are. And let's get to it. Seven of Cups in reverse. Seven of Cups in reverse is depicted, as you can see here, by the story of Aladdin. And it is in reverse. If you remember the reading I did for the new moon, you might recall that this card also came out, and it did have to do with, I guess, being overburdened or overwhelmed by the many different choices that you have on hand, and the overthinking that kind of takes over, and so there is that sense of not knowing what to choose, right? And so you're stuck. Now, there are quite a few interesting cards, considering that a lot of them are in reverse. So it's a lot of stuck energy, which is not necessarily a bad thing. You might be in a state of I don't want to say overwhelm again. That's not what I'm trying to go with. You're in a state in which you are trying to take choices seriously as you move forward, trying to progress finally, right? You're trying to make that decision, but there is too many to make, or there's too much going on. Now, I typically try to, whenever I do a card reading, small introduction here, a little pin and what I'm trying to say. I typically try to I don't feel the need to constantly have to look up meanings unless it's a card that is not one that I regularly pull out, or I need some clarification in how the cards are set up. The beauty of these cards, though, is that the depictions that are shown on here all have stories. And so, as I stated, it's pretty evident that this is a story of Aladdin, but the stories and the art in how the cards are set up are all different. So, because they're all in regards to mentions of folk tales. Now, mind you, this is about confusion and overwhelm, but the story itself here, it explains that it's Aladdin. If you're familiar with the tale, he must choose the correct lamp, right? Um, Now, here it's explaining that as Aladdin's standing before a whole bunch of different dreams, fantastical dreams, it's impossible for him to pursue them all, and it is important that he makes the decision wisely and quickly. Now, that's what this is saying. But again, as we explained, the Seven of Cups is that overwhelm of not being able to, because there's so many different possibilities, right? Now, there does seem to be an urgency because we have the Nine of Wands. Now, Nine of Wands here, and this is why I wanted to double check because I don't know a lot of these folktales. Now, the Nine of Wands is that Nine of Wands typically is just that understanding of the the concept of burden, the concept of like building on. Now, this is a Russian fairy tale. Um, okay, so what was I saying? So the building on, right? There's just so much, how much you have to carry, and typically, um, it looks like someone is overburdened, right? And so when it's the Seven of Cups in reverse and being overwhelmed, and then the Nine of Wands, there's just so much that you've had to carry. And actually, I believe the Nine of Wands was also in the last reading that I did for the new moon, um, and starting to show how that's just becoming a little bit more difficult, or it's slowing down the pace because of that exhaustion. So this is the story of Vasilia the Beautiful, which is a Russian folktale. And in this story, she's sent to her wicked stepmother to the door of, or sent by her wicked stepmother to the door of the witch Baba Yaga. Vasilia the Beautiful stays resilient. She endures Baba Yaga's impossible trials. She is wary, cautious, but also hopeful. Now, that's the beauty of the wands, right? The beauty of wands is as you progress, you carry a little bit more, but that's not a bad thing, right? It's just the lessons. Sometimes you're overwhelmed and overburdened by all the lessons that you've had to carry this entire time, right? And so it's only been a week, so you're still tired, and it's understandable. There's not, the load isn't going to be lifted immediately. And so what I'm understanding in regards to this reading so far is you're tired. You're tired. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And I don't know if you recall the past couple of readings that I've done, is that reminder of you either need to willingly rest, or you will be forced to, and it will not be a good sort of rest. It will be a very unfortunate type of rest. Now, we have the High Priestess in reverse. There's a lot of doubt, right? There's a lot of doubt. And it could be that sense of like, you know what? I just can't right now. And trust me, as I've explained several times, I know so many of you personally. And I know that you say this is I don't have time to right now. You need to make time. I can assure you that when it's forced on you, it's going to be so much harder to recover from. And that's not me putting that out to you. That is not like, no, it is a warning that it is going to happen because you're burning out so hard. You're not a machine, and even machines need time to be maintenanced, to receive maintenance, to be properly taken care of so that they can keep going forward and doing what they need to do. And you're not a machine. You are flesh and blood. And depending on, and not to be an ageist, but I'm just saying, and sometimes it's harder to recover when you're not fully healed. So the High Priestess, that is the message of capability and so much power. You have this doubt. Doubt is like a poison that weakens you. Now, this story is from Turkey. Oh my gosh, let me see if I can pronounce it. It's Scheherazade. I probably massacred that. I'm very, very sorry. With a story for every situation, Scheherazade asks the listener to focus on what their subconscious tells them, encouraging them to form their own conclusions. Her power is vast yet subtle. Her answers are always mysterious. But if your mind isn't open and you're doubting, there's going to be that hindrance, right? And the moon is shining above the High Priestess. That is that reminder of intuition, trusting your intuition. And you can't trust yourself. You don't trust that you have that ability to take that time and properly heal, or that that you can't put a pause on what you need to pause, and you can. You have to have that confidence that you can. Yeah, it's starting to feel overwhelming. It's starting to feel like a lot. And this is followed by, and I know that I don't have to look this one up, the Five of Cups. And this depiction is La Llorona, right? Dressed in the garb of Veracruz. And as you see here, there is a hand holding La Llorona back. And the Five of Cups is that wallowing and hurt, the deep emotional sorrow that is beyond. Now, these are very, very overwhelming feelings. And right now we are in the start of the summer solstice. So what are we trying to say? Okay, you're tired, you're afraid. There's a lot that you are not sharing, that you're not expressing. You've dealt with a lot. There's been so much. It's as if the load doesn't let up. And it doesn't. And it's okay to grieve. Grieve is not something to be shameful of or to be ashamed about. The feelings that you have are valid. You've been through so much hurt, and you may think to yourself, I don't have the time to cry. Bitch, yes you do. You cannot heal if you don't let it out. Tears are the most healing form. Water is so healing. So tears running down your face, returning to the earth, releasing the pain is healing. It's okay to cry. Just because you feel like you're being judged or you're afraid to be seen as vulnerable, you have every right to feel what you are feeling, no matter how you are trying to maintain that sense of strength. You are overcoming something so intense. This is the Six of Swords. That sense of victory, that sense of having overcome something so painful, something so difficult. There's no reason why to doubt yourself. If there's anything you should doubt, is who you can be vulnerable in front of. If that person judges you from all that you've been able to overcome, then you need to make a judgment call in regards to who is in your circle. What is someone gonna say? Oh, she's such a crybaby. He's such a little wuss. Why are you near them? Why are you letting them have access to your energies? From something in the past? How are they truly supporting you? Also, one thing to be cautious of is someone's like, this isn't you. You're strong, independent, no need, No, that's just reinforcing a narrative that you don't need support when you, just because you haven't, you've been able to hold on, let me rephrase that. Just because you've been able to overcome without support doesn't mean that you don't deserve support. You deserve support, but because if that person that's trying to hype you up saying that you don't need help, they don't care about your well-being, because they would not put you or let you be in a situation that you had to carry the weight of burden alone. If they don't help to alleviate that, no, in one way, shape, or another. If you're in a sense of doubt of who you can trust, then they don't deserve your trust. If they are trying to keep you from succeeding and growing, they're not going to be part of the victory. Ooh. And that's quite a few of people out there. Now, let me double check the story. I know this is a Grecian story from the Six of Swords. I do not recall which one it is. Okay. Yes. So this story is after being imprisoned by her own father, Danae and her young son Perseus escape. Perseus will eventually grow to defeat the Gorgon Medusa. This is about healing, moving forward, and letting go those that do not support you. Okay? Now, as I brought up, we have the Judgment card. Let me follow up with this story, this folktale, It is the story of. Okay, see, I'm glad I double checked because I would have told you the wrong story. This is Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. Past. Okay. Past actions and decisions determine future events. If you haven't learned your lessons, you're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over. They'll tell a little bit more about the story. But there you go. So again, can't keep holding on to those that don't support you. And I understand it is difficult to cut ties or to limit ties, limit your energy to people in your life. And the reason why I say this is because we have the Knight of Swords. There is a hindrance in regards to your communication. You are better at communicating your boundaries to those that you don't have a connection with, even if they're an unhealthy connection. So that's why we have the Knight of Swords here in reverse. Now the story of this is Hang Tuah. It's a Malaysian story. Hang Tuah, an intelligent soldier, is unafraid of leaping into battle. He's rebellious, loyal, and a fierce companion. But there is that sense, again, kind of not being afraid to share your boundaries because you might be seen as rude, you might be seen as ungrateful, you might be seen as difficult, and that's not the case. It's you can communicate like, you know what, I don't appreciate, I understand you're coming from a good place trying to hype me up, but what I really need is help, and that hype is not supportive. I need actual support, saying it's okay, that you feel anger, that you feel sadness, unless they're trying to let you know, like, hey, there is that type of guidance, and like, don't put yourself down. It's just, there's a difference between helpful support and unhelpful support. And what you're trying to set that boundary is like, someone needs to clarify, like, hey, I hear how you're feeling. What do you need from me, right? Do you need a hug? Do you need words of affirmation? Do you need just someone to listen to you? Do you want feedback? What is it that you need, so that they can be there to truly help you in the way that you need help? But you need to communicate that. You can't just keep it all bottled in. Another card that we have, and again, it came out again, is the Hierophant. Now, the Hierophant, again, is in reverse. The Hierophant is someone who they follow things in a structure. They typically in the Rider-Waite are depicted as what looks like a bishop or like the Pope, someone of like spiritual power, not spiritual, like, well, in that sense, right? I don't want to use the term religious because any religion, it doesn't matter, it's, anywho. It is someone of a significant form of power that follows a very specific structure, and they're usually the indicator of like, okay, you are kind of following the path that's taking you to where you need to go. You're following these steps one by one, but it's in reverse. So there is a bit of hindrance there, similar to the High Priestess. I don't want to get this the folktale wrong. I believe this is the White Buffalo Woman. So this is the White Buffalo woman. Rule. Okay, I'm glad I read it. Rituals. So there's more rituals to this, right? Um, she encourages the comfort and support of the group. The path well trodden. Now, again, there is this fact that it's in reverse, similar to the high priestess. There is some doubt, there is some lack of faith. Now, the reason why I don't use religion is because there's so many different religions out there, and religion has nothing to do with it. It has to do with your connection to who your higher power is, whether that is a monotheistic faith or a multi-theistic faith. But it has to do with faith in itself. You might feel like there's doubt, that your prayers aren't being answered or your prayers aren't being heard. There is, with the high priestess in reverse and with the Hierophant in reverse, there is some lack of faith. There is some doubt. Because, of the overwhelm, of the overburden, of everything that you're not letting yourself feel and heal from. And sometimes it's a lot at one time. When it rains, it pours. That's the terminology. The way that things are playing out, there's so many reverses here. There's so much self-doubt. We also have the Queen of Coin in reverse. Now, I don't know this story, so that's why I'm going here. The Queen of Coins. This is, I'm gonna try to say it correctly. Wara Murun Unju. Oh, Jesus Christ. Jeez. Okay. Wara Murun Gunduhu. It's Northern Australia. Wara Murun Gunduhu has traveled the world blessing her many children. She is always moving, loving, and ever practical. She teaches her children how to help themselves. Now, the Queen of Coin in reverse is typically, okay, so when the Queen of Coin is right side up, that is that sense of abundance, someone who has learned how to manage their resources, maintain healthy resource flow, giving and receiving, and sharing resources, which is, it could be informational, monetary, connection. When this is in reverse, and reminder, it's not just monetary. We're talking about different types of resources, not just material. There could be a sense of insecurity. It could be financial insecurity. It could be connection insecurity. It could be jealousy, that sense of like, why does everyone else have like the best connections, or why does everyone else have more than I have in one way, shape, or form? Or it could be that insecurity of like, I don't want to share because what if I lose all my connections, or what if I lose all my resources? And there's a lot of this. There's a lot of this doubt. Again, a lot of the doubt that you are having. So I'm going to ask, use your judgment in this. Is there someone in your ear? Remember that hand. Is that someone in your ear that's kind of sending you down the wrong path? Food for thought. Now, we have the Knight of Wands. Now, the Knight of Wands is someone, typically, things come fast when it comes to the Knight of Wands. Things are moving fast. News, um, information, uh, projects, things that are usually coming in quick, and there's determination for it. But it is in reverse. Again, some type of hindrance, something that is kind of holding you back. Now, this story is, it's a Norwegian fairy tale called The Tatterhood. Reckless and unafraid, the Tatterhood grabs what she wants to claim the future she desires. So, again, a sense of, in reverse, a sense of jealousy or insecurity. There is arrogance is there, but that's not what I'm feeling. It could be that you are feeling the arrogance of others, or you might have that you're projecting and you feel that maybe you might think someone else is like bragging, or and I mean, it's not like there isn't people that aren't arrogant with what they have, but don't let other people's bragging or arrogance keep you in this reverse card flow. Don't let it feed into whatever self-doubt you might have. Because this is one thing that I'm gonna say, especially when it comes to wands, because wands are determination. There are it's passion. They're like passion projects, hobbies, things that you enjoy doing. Just because, and mind you, there's so many things out there that you might want to get into, and especially if you're from a small place, because if you go to bigger locations, bigger cities, you're gonna see that I made this comparison because, again, I was traveling over the weekend, and we were talking about a very big name brand um, uh, coffee shop that is highlighted by the color green. And so the comment that I made is like, for every green coffee shop you found on a corner right across the street or a building or two down, there was a separate coffee shop that's highlighted by a very specific windmill. And it didn't matter. There's people that prefer the green coffee shop and there's people that prefer the windmill coffee shop. And then someone said, well, actually, I prefer this place over here that also happens to sell donuts. So that's the thing. It doesn't matter how many there are, even in a small location, there's going to be places that people prefer. Don't let that passion die because you're like, oh, well, there's already so many of these. But you're different. You're you. And you may not be everyone's cup of coffee or cup of tea, but someone will like yours. I mean, there's so many different types of like Mexican restaurants, but not all of them are the same. Not all of them are the same. And because Mexico has so many states, the style of Mexican food is different in every place that you go to. You can order a certain type of taco and be like, oh, we don't serve them like this because, and they're like, oh, well, we're from here. That's why. This is this style. This is this particular city's style of food. Now, this is followed with the Page of Cups in reverse. Emotions. Let's get into this. Emotions. Sometimes you have to sit with your feelings. Sometimes you have to sit with your feelings And when there's a lot of feelings to be felt, and that might put a hindrance in processing what you feel, especially if you're not supported, and or you have this stubborn nature of not letting yourself be vulnerable with trusted individuals. But the Page of Cups usually is that indicator of learning how to deal with your emotions, but the Page of Cups is in reverse. This is the folk tale of Bakunawa and the Seven Moons. This is a Filipino mythology. So, in this card, one of the 7 young moon siblings plays with Tuer Shen, the Chinese god of same sex relationships, who ties the red thread of fate that connects lovers. So, again, this may have to do with, because it's in reverse, this may have to do with emotional connections. So remember that expression of like, who's holding you back, who is not your supporter, who is constantly keeping you in a state of self-doubt, who can you not speak up against that's making you continuously doubt your ability, that's or is bragging or is like keeping you down, keeping you from your passion projects. That connection is very, very unhealthy. And if we're taking that consideration of connection, it doesn't have to be a romantic connection, but it's a connection nonetheless, because this also can tie into childhood connections or friends of the family connection or business connection, someone that you thought you knew well. But it's in reverse. There could be insecurity, immaturity, childish antics that you've grown out of, or that you need to grow out of, or mindsets that are connecting you in a very unhealthy way. Things you need to let go of, and it's emotional. There might be that emotional connection, which is like why it's so hard for you to like speak up, but you're in this really unhealthy state. You want growth, and this is just a reminder, like, whatever that emotional connection is, it needs to be cut out, or something needs to happen. We're going into the last set of cards, and we have the Emperor in reverse. The Emperor is typically the utmost supreme hierarchy that you want to achieve, right? I believe this is the depiction of the King Arthur, because you see the sword is in the stone. And I don't know if you actually know the story of King Arthur. Things did not end well for King Arthur, because King Arthur wound up trusting the wrong person. In the story, and I don't have to look it up, but I'll look it up for you. In the story of King Arthur, the Knights of the Round Table and Camelot, Avalon, there is a divine vision, an oracle that tells King Arthur that he will meet a knight, and with this knight, the knight will protect his kingdom and his kingdom will thrive. That's when he meets is it Galahad? I believe it's Galahad. You guys can correct me. But Galahad winds up falling in love with King Arthur's wife, who is oh my gosh, I think I'm mixing up my names because it's been such a long time. I used to love the story of Avalon and Camelot. I think it's Lady Gawain. No, I know that's wrong. Anyways, very famous knight that was the right hand of King Arthur, and the knight and the queen wind up falling in love. And with that, King Arthur was going to behead the knight for treason, and then he escapes with the queen and they run off together. And then it was brought to the attention of King Arthur that it wasn't in fact the knight, but the knight's son, who was meant to be the knight that made Camelot thrive. And it was King Arthur not understanding that difference between the father and the son. So, when it comes to judgment, and I do love that these two have the same color scheme, the same pattern in regards to the ray of sun. Whatever ties and connections that you have, right? And then, of course, King Arthur. It is whether you feel like you're being, maybe there's a sense of domination. Is this like a parental figure, or someone that you feel has this power over you that you can't seem to cut those ties with? Because mind you, the emperor is holding a sword. The sword is that voice of communication, that lack of sense of power, which is also interesting because then we go into the Fool card. The Fool card is not calling you a fool. Let's get that clear. But as you see here, this is the tale of the Little Mermaid, and she is staring up at a castle, and coincidentally enough, if you look at the castle, it is very similar to the castle in the background up here, right? And then there's now, if you know the story of the Little Mermaid, and I'm not talking about the Big Mouse Company's version, because that is a very horrible depiction of the actual story. This is a story from Denmark, popularized by, I believe, Hans Christian Andersen. This is a Danish fairy tale. It's that sense of like, the Fool is the very first card in the tarot deck, and it is an indicator of a new beginning. And the Fool is just that sense of like innocence, that sense of like a knowing, that sense of like, how, for example, whether you're a parent or not, you may have heard this being told to new parents. It's, oh, just you wait and see. Or it doesn't even have to do with parenthood, but when there's a new project, or when you're starting something and there's someone that gives you that weird foreboding of like, oh, just you wait, or that reminder of like, you have to experience it for yourself to understand. That's what the Fool is that indicator of. It could also be that indicator of someone making you feel like a fool with these ties and people like not having that best intention for you. Don't let a new beginning, don't be afraid of a new beginning, but also proceed, understanding that you may not know what is out there. We have the Death in reverse. This is not, I believe, the second time that we've had this in a consecutive reading. The Death in reverse. This story, I need to double check what story this is, because I have an idea of what it could be. The Death in reverse is typically the death of your ego. It's also being afraid of what's to come. But again, it's following the Fool. That Fool is just like, yeah, there's so many things that you're unaware of that you might encounter, and it's scary to not know. The unknown is pretty scary, but it's also that indicator of like, don't just go in blindly. You can do your research, but also don't be afraid. The Death in reverse, we have trying to figure out what the story is. The Death in reverse. What story is this? Jeez Louise. I know I'm jumping way ahead somewhere. This story is... Oh, I don't know this story at all, which is a good thing I looked it up. This is a Norwegian fairy tale, White Bear King Valimon. It doesn't give me any, it's just the typical definition. I thought that would give more about the story. This story, or rather the death card, is just that many people think that it's in relation to death, and as a cycle, part of the life cycle, yes it is. Things are coming to an end. You need to let go of what no longer serves you, especially if it's cutting ties. The cycle of that friendship, that connection, that unhealthy relationship, it's time to end it. The end is now with that relationship. You need to let it go. You can't be afraid of letting go of misery. That's all I'm gonna say. I have to look up that story. I'm really genuinely curious as to what it was. I was thinking of a different story altogether. Because we have the Four of Swords. And the Four of Swords is in reverse. I believe, if I'm correct, this story is of Ragnarok. Okay, yes. This is a Norse mythology. Is Fenrir. The Norse gods know what the wolf Fenrir will bring about the end of the world, so they have him bound and chained while he still represents a threat. For now, there is respite. You have so much strength. This is, when it's in reverse, right? You are in a state of healing, awakening, even if you have some doubt. This is that encouragement, but you have to end those cycles to thoroughly heal so that you avoid that burnout, so you can rebuild your strength to move forward. if you genuinely want to build on, you have to let yourself heal. And mind you, the swords are here. Tie up those loose ends that no longer serve you, those unhealthy ties that you have. Because we have the Ten of Wands in reverse. Mind you, the Ten of Wands right side up, after all the burden and wrong turns of misdirections that have been given to you, the Ten of Wands is that indicator of growth through difficulty. But it is in reverse, right? Again, with that death, cycles have to end. You can't be afraid of the cycle ending. But the Ten of Wands is in reverse. Now this story is I'm having fun. I love this deck, but I've never learned all the mythology, so it's interesting. So this is a folktale from Paraguay, a Guarani legend called the Timbo Tree. It says, when Sagua's daughter went missing, he searched alone in vain. A timbo tree grew from his ear when he died, bearing fruits he labored for but was unable to enjoy. This is just, okay, it's a reminder. It's just a reminder. It's like, this is why I don't continue pulling cards, because a lot of the times it's just repetitive. You need to heal. You're on a healing journey. You're on the verge of burnout. You're on a verge of burnout. There is successes, but if you don't heal and let yourself rest, you won't be able to enjoy any of that. And don't hoard your resources. That's the Four of Coins. The Four of Coins is just that indicator that you're afraid. You are afraid of losing. But if you're too, it's like that. There's that theory, or not that theory, there's a thought process that people have in regards to I'm saving money to ensure that I'm, safe and protected, and there is no lack. But if you're hoarding, you're also still living in lack. This is called the Condor's Wife, or the folktale is the Condor's Wife, a Aymara folktale from Peru. The condor covets his wife who does not like his lifestyle or living with him. He recognizes her unhappiness but is unwilling to make the changes to set her free. It's regarding hoarding, possession, financial stability, materialism, stinginess. If you are in a state of unhappiness, it doesn't have to be someone keeping you there, but I mean, it's kind of evident when it's talking about connections and like people leading you on the wrong path. If you're unhappy, make the change. Or tell the people, quit being afraid to say it, you need to make changes or I can't stay. Mighty Fates, what additional message do you have for us? We have get curious. Get curious. So, here we go. We have get curious. A lot is said about how important it is to have a positive mindset, but not as much about a curious mindset. Curiosity can be the bridge to shifting our thought patterns. It is neutral but inviting. When we get stuck, cynical, or bored with life, tapping into our curiosity can spark a rapid domino effect within our thoughts. There is so much in this world we will never know. but to simply align, wondering about what is around you can snowball into passions and excitement you never knew you had. If you are unsure where to begin, simply look around. How do flowers get their color? How did snakes evolve? Do dogs taste the same as humans? Nothing is too silly. Get curious about changing that mindset. And let's finish off with the Divine Feminine deck. Divine Mothers, what message, one card please, do you have to end out this summer solstice reading? What? Okay, let's get through these. We have the Joan of Arc, Warrior of Light. I have a steel-like faith in myself. The angels armor me with conviction. We have Lilith, the first woman. I am the voice of my body and soul. Voice. I choose the life that I desire to live. And lastly, Brigade, the goddess of eternal flame. I'm an eternal flame, and each day my light grows brighter. So let us begin with the Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc. When your soul selects her card, during Joan of Arc's heresy trial, her interrogators asked her if she was in a state of grace. She answered, "If I am not, may God put me there. And if I am, may God keep so me." Her unfaltering faith in the truth of her own visions made the impossible possible. As a teenager, she led an army that changed the course of history for France, and because of the trials, we have sworn testimony detailing the courage of her convictions and her own testimony about her visions of the Archangel Michael, who inspired the course of her actions. "Act, and God will act," she said. The faith she had in her vision allowed her to take on a task that had never been done before by a young woman. Her every action chanted, "I am not afraid. I was born to do this." She is associated with the fleur-de-lis, known as the flower of light. It represents the Trinity, the profound truth that the Trinity would not exist without Mary and her brave response to Angel Gabriel's call. Joan, like Mary, knows she is directly connected to the divine from within her, and she allows that connection to guide her. Joan of Arc's life is a testament to what is possible for us when we believe steadfastly in our own vision. She asks for us to move beyond our fear, to act on our truth, and to do this with the confidence of knowing that our every step is flanked with angels. And ask yourself, what is the most powerful vision for my life? I can't make this shit up, guys. And let us move on to Lilith. When your soul selects her card, Lilith asks, what would happen if you left everything behind? She wonders what prevents you from getting to experience all that you desire. Is it you? Is it an idea of someone you have to be? Is it society's definition of what it means to be a woman? Lilith asks the questions that sometimes never fully reach the light of the consciousness. Lilith is unclaimed. She is the ruler of her body and soul, and she reminds us that we are too. And not only that, we have a sacred obligation to be the body's fierce protector. If I were entirely equal to everyone else, to every man and every angel, like Samael, what would I choose for my life? If I see myself as worthy, as the first woman ever created by the divine, what more would I ask for? Am I living the life I desire? Am I actually fulfilled sexually in my current relationship? Are there aspects of my sexuality that I haven't been able to face and voice? Lilith refused to settle. She answered all these questions within her and took action on the truth she uncovered. Lilith demanded that she meet with what she really desired. And she's here to demand that we all do the same. So ask yourself, what does the life I truly desire look like? Now, so the Fool's here to be curious. Let us finish out with Brigid. When your soul selects her card, there's that moment when you're making your way through the dark, and suddenly, after what feels like days or months or even years, a ray of light comes through to you. A lightning happens. Each step isn't quite as hard to make as the one before. And you feel a great shift begin, as if now you're headed towards something new, something even brighter. Brigid is the essence of that first flame, that first ray of light. Brigid reminds us that the darkness never lasts. Brigid's eternal flame represents the truth that the light never leaves us and can never be extinguished. It simply gets obscured or blocked from us. She reminds us that every day is actually filled with light, that there are many days and times in our lives when we endure thick cloud cover, when that flame that exists within us is blocked by pain or confusion. Brigid is the sweet sound that reaches us in the dark and reminds us that we have never been on this journey alone. Brigid is our sign that the dawn is here because we have made it through the dark winter. We can lift our head. The healing has happened, and now each day is bound to be brighter. So ask yourself, what allows me to feel light more often every day? I can't make this shit up. So, there is your summer solstice message. The sun is out. There's more sunlight. There is more light to take notice of, to be in, to feel. Do not doubt your faith and get curious. Ask all those questions to yourself, and you will finally feel your light. I genuinely hope that this helps, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.